Colette, is Keith with us tonight?
Keith? I'm right here, council member.
Okay. Council agenda, Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Township Council agenda meeting of April 7th, 2020. Introduction, posting of notice. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on December 18, 2019, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record and the Star Ledger on December 23, 2019, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers and local radio stations on December 18, 2019. Note, council meetings are videotaped and aired on Cablevision Public Access Channel 21 at 11 a.m. on Sundays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net. Can everybody just please stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. Mr. Carriffy?
Here.
Ms. Grignani?
Here.
Ms. McCarthy?
Here.
Ms. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. DePiero? Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Okay, also in attendance are Mayor Michael Soriano, Business Administrator Keith Kazmark, CFO Ann Cucci, Township Attorney Jim Lott, Township Clerk Colette Madden. We also have the Township Planner Susan Pavante on the call as well. We have a quorum. Council President, may I begin?
Please begin.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, April 21st, 2020 at 7 p.m. That's a regular meeting. May 5th, 2020 at 7 p.m. That's an agenda meeting. Minutes will be on for the next meeting. We're going to presentation reports. At this time, the mayor.
Thank you, Colette. Now, one of the most common issues I'm receiving in my office is an increased amount of litter around the town. You know, some of this litter, it's normal that we deal with, such as food or water bottles around, like, walking paths. But a lot of it is masks now, and gloves, and other items that are actually meant to slow the spread of COVID-19. But people are throwing medical wear in the supermarket parking lot, and this does not help us fight against COVID-19. It just helps spread it further. So we've stepped up patrols and code enforcement at supermarkets and other locations where we receive reports of this behavior. But with our resources stretched thin, you know, we can't be everywhere at once. And I'm asking the public, the best way to stop litter is self-policing and cleaning up Parsippany and taking pride in Parsippany yourself. Wait until you find a trash can to throw out these items you're done with. And if you come across an area with a lot of litter, particularly gloves and masks, please send the location to action@parsippany.net so we can deploy someone to get that cleaned up, or get on the property owner to police their own area to make sure that it's cleaned up. Another issue I'm seeing frequently is groups congregating in our parks. Now, as of tonight, state and county parks are closed by order of the governor. And for the time being, Parsippany Parks, municipal parks, that is up to the municipality. And they're going to remain open. We want to keep them open so people have a way to recreate. But I continue to keep seeing, and so do the police continue to keep seeing, people congregating in our parks without practicing social distancing. Not only are they putting themselves at harm, they're putting the entire community at harm. And it's open to provide a safe outdoor space for recreation. And they're not open for team sports or gatherings. We're in a long-term emergency situation, and that requires us to behave differently than we're used to. Sometimes that means not doing things we'd like to do. Sometimes it means speaking up when we otherwise might not. If you see something wrong, please say something, and consider calling the police department's non-emergency line at 973-263-4300. Now, on a brighter note, Parsippany's household response rate to the 2020 census surpassed 50% this weekend. The state average is about 45% right now. So we're doing really well in Parsippany with the census. But I want the public to keep in mind that federal and state funding is partially based on census population counts. And at a time like this, I think we all know how important it is that our numbers are accurate so that our federal and state aid is maximized. So I'm asking everyone that can hear this council meeting to please fill out their census online. They go to 2020census.gov, and I want you to encourage all of your friends and neighbors to do so as well. And in the meanwhile, I want, for those celebrating this coming week and weekend, happy Passover and happy Easter to everyone for these blessed holidays. And as I will continue to say this every council meeting until we get clear of this. Please practice social distancing policies and stay home as much as possible. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, and God bless you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Township Attorney?
I have no report.
Okay. Business Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. Madden. First, I want to start off by thanking all the residents of Parsippany and especially our municipal employees here in the township for their help, support, and patience during this COVID-19 public health emergency. As of tonight, I just got off the phone with our health officer, Carlo Delizia. There are 244 total confirmed positive cases in Parsippany as of this evening, and unfortunately and tragically, 9 deaths. 1 additional death was recorded today. Here in the township, we continue to operate with only essential employees physically reporting to work. A good portion of our workforce is working remotely from home or coming in on an abbreviated schedule in order to reduce exposure to themselves or other employees. And also, we are concerned, of course, about employees bringing it home to vulnerable members of their family. We are currently following all federal and state directives relative to COVID-19. Many of those directives have to do with personnel policies and certain leave opportunities that have been granted by Civil Service Commission regulations, and also through the Family Medical Leave Act, which is a federal program and has been updated to address the COVID-19 situation. As the mayor indicated earlier, the governor signed executive order today, which closed county and state parks. I had a conversation with our police chief, Andrew Miller, and our director of parks and forestry, Jim Walsh, this afternoon. At this time, municipal parks will remain open. However, we will evaluate that on Monday morning after the weekend. There's projected to be decent weather over the Easter holiday, and we'll make a determination as to whether or not the closing of state parks and county parks ends up pushing individuals into the municipal park system. We need to make sure that people who are using municipal parks are honoring social distancing, as Mayor Soriano indicated, in addition to making sure that our parks are not overwhelmed in light of the county and state park closure. The governor also, in his executive order today, waived various graduation requirements for 8th and 12th grade students, indicating that there may be some changes forthcoming with regard to the school calendar. He also extended the public health emergency today for an additional 30 days, which will take us to May 9th. There's also some indication, and it will be announced, as I understand it, later this week, that the primary election date may be moved from June the 2nd to July the 7th. Although that is not etched in stone yet, I would ask everyone to be mindful as to changes in the election calendar. Locally today, Mayor Soriano signed off on Administrative Order 20-02, which I have forwarded to the municipal clerk to pass on to the governing body. That administrative order modifies and adds to some of the directives that were issued in Administrative Order 20-01 earlier last month. Most importantly, this does increase the opportunity to move our workforce to a more work from home or remote work type of platform. Employees have been directed to bring work home with them when applicable. We also have many employees who have their office phone numbers being forwarded to either their home number, their cell phone number or a township cell phone number in order to field calls out of their respective offices. Most, if not all, of our office staff is now working on email remotely, and many have access to software packages and platforms that they need to perform their essential job functions. For those employees who must report to the office, we are asking them to do so on a limited basis, to come in and perform the essential functions such as processing payroll and the like, and then return home to continue their work day. The goal here is to reduce exposure and interactions with coworkers to the extent possible while still providing the essential services to the residents and our fellow employees. Last week, I issued a policy memo to all department heads, which trickled down to their employees, directing employees who are working remotely of what their responsibilities are and that they must daily fulfill the requirement of checking email, interacting, meeting remotely with their department head or supervisor, and also submitting a weekly activity report that indicates what tasks were performed during that work week. Today's administrative order also requires employees who must report for work to perform their duties, such as the police department, the public works department, those who are collecting trash and recycling, our parks and forestry crews, our sewer and water operators, that they must continue to report to work in order to maintain those in-person essential functions. Today's administrative order also allows for 2 additional competitive bid opportunities through Mr. Hardy's office. One is with regard to well rehabilitation improvements for the water department. That bid opening will be held on April 22nd. And the road resurfacing project for 2020, which will be taken on April 23rd. That was in consultation with both our purchasing director, Michael Hardy, and our township engineer, Justin Lizza. And the water bid specifically is important due to the need under our COA obligation to be adequately providing water resources to future development here in the township. And finally, the other piece that today's administrative order addresses is the conduct of planning board and board of adjustment meetings. The previous administrative order canceled all meetings with the exception of mayor and council meetings, which was at the discretion of the council president. Today's administrative order allows the board chairman, in consultation with myself, to talk about ways in which we can conduct those meetings. At this point, it is our intention only to hold planning board and board of adjustment meetings in order to adopt pro forma actions such as resolutions from prior applications that have already been approved by the board, in addition to approving minutes and the like. To have a
Clarification on that, Keith, are those votes going to be taken by telephone?
Quite frankly, Council President, that decision has not been made yet. We have a call tomorrow morning with both the planning board and board of adjustment attorneys. Are the chairman involved in that call too? Both the planning board and zoning board chairman, in addition to some of the other professionals, myself and Jim Lott, and we're going to talk through what the most practical way of doing this is. One of the concerns that we have on the administration level is the fact that there are a number of applications before the planning board and zoning board that could be considered somewhat controversial, and where we want to make sure that the public is heard on those applications, and that they have the ability to put their comments on the record. So at this point,
in my humble opinion, those should all be postponed until the contagious portion of this crisis is over.
And we agree with that position, Council President. I think the concern is that at this point we have asked certain applicants, and I think all of them have complied, for a 60-day extension in order to hear their application. The problem is there is a site in Title 40, which I'll allow Jim to speak to, which does allow for any inaction of the board for a certain period of time to result in a default approval, which is something that we certainly want to prevent, especially on applications that the public may have a lot to say about.
And we have to reach out to our legislators to correct that.
Well, what I've done is just for the record, on a call with the governor's office on Friday of last week, I brought this issue up specifically, and I indicated that it is very cumbersome to run a planning board or zoning board meeting remotely. You have expert witnesses, as you're well aware of, Council President, having sat on the board for a long time. You have exhibits that need to be reviewed. You have intricate questions that need to be asked by members of the board and by the public. And quite frankly, doing that remotely, even through an application like Zoom, it just doesn't make for an easy process. So they've said that they will take that under consideration, and they may issue additional guidance as to how we can deal with these board meetings.
When you look at the backup data and the plan and the maps and the drawings that we're supposed to look at on those two boards, there's no way we could do it remotely.
I sit on a planning board myself, Council President, so I completely agree with your assessment.
So just a couple of comments further to Keith's observations. One is that with respect to planning board applications, we have consents of all applicants who have applications pending to carry the applications. We have a request in to zoning board, as Keith indicates. We'll speak to Peter King tomorrow and the board chairman about whether or not consents have been obtained from zoning board applicants. We're also going to discuss what Keith described as pro forma business. Most likely that will be transacted by phone. As Keith indicates, that will be basically payment of bills, adoption of resolutions, adoption of minutes, adjudication of applications, as Council President DiPiero indicates, will have to be deferred until such time as we're able to meet in a physical location, and we'll sort through those details tomorrow on the conference call.
Okay.
And then the only other issue that I have, and I apologize to the two members of the council who sit on the Finance Committee, Councilmember Gragnani and Councilmember McCarthy. We had met last week by a conference call with regard to the budget. I did subsequently send out an email to the council indicating where we stood in that process. We are awaiting the state providing additional guidance to some mechanisms that they are considering and Trenton put in place to aid municipalities with their municipal budget. So rather than hand out budget books, then get the guidance after that, and then have to revise the budget books based on that guidance, we decided to just hold off until we have that information from Trenton in our hands. They are looking to relax some of the rules with regard to municipal budgeting, understanding that there are economic factors out there that will far outlast the COVID-19 public health crisis, in addition to trying to take some of the impact off of the taxpayer. I expect that to be released the latest this Friday, which is a holiday, possibly Monday in light of the holiday, and then we will be able to sew everything up and get you budget books in plenty of time for you to review the budget. I believe our deadline is May 5th for introduction, and the only thing that I need guidance from on the council, and I had mentioned this to Council Member Gragnani, is how the council would like to move forward with budget hearings. It's obviously impossible to have in-person physical budget hearings like we have had in the past. So I just need some guidance as to what the council wants that to look like, and then my office will take the lead to put that together. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Any reports from the Township Council, members of the council?
I have
This is Janice. I wanted to nominate Tamara Jolly for the Environmental Committee.
Second.
Okay, so Janice had reached out to me earlier today and had sent me Ms. Jolly's paperwork. I had forwarded to all the council members. So at this point in time, we have a nomination and a second. A nomination by Ms. McCarthy and a second by Ms. Peterson to nominate Ms. Tamara Jolly to the Environmental Committee. I'm going to go ahead now and go into a roll call for that. Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes, and the second was not Peterson, but yes, that was my vote.
Who was the second?
Greg, no.
I think it was Grignani, Loretta.
All right, I'm sorry, guys. So Loretta. Okay.
I read the information and her outline, and I think she would make an excellent member of that committee.
Okay, fantastic. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Jolly will be sent a letter informing her of her new appointment. Any other member of the council have anything else?
Yes, I do. I have the unfortunate task of announcing that a great friend of the Parsippany Township, Matt Adamczyk, passed away yesterday. Matt was a member of the American Legion on North Berwick Road. He helped for the last 15, 16, 17 years at our Memorial Day ceremony and our Veterans Day ceremony. A very energetic, very lovable guy. And this township will miss him. If we could have a moment of silence for him, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, if I may, please.
Yes.
Keith, in the stimulus package, Parsippany will be receiving $127,137. And in your email to us of Thursday, the 2nd of March, you're concerned about the reassessing the cost of the COVID-19 emergency. Are we going to be using some of these funds to offset those costs?
So, council member, when we received the initial indication that we received the $127,000, I reached out to Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill's office for some clarification on what we can spend that money on and what programs would be eligible. And according to the Congressional Research Service, eligible activities must meet one of the following criteria: principally benefit low or moderate income persons, aid in preventing or eliminating slums or blight, address an imminent threat to health and safety of residents. Specifically, the grants can be used for nonprofits for performing essential services, workforce development training for displaced workers, retrofitting community facilities or medical, for quarantine, supporting food and other essential supply deliveries to elderly and vulnerable populations, and supporting various interrupted or at-risk core government functions. So in speaking with Michelle Pacone from our Human Services Department, we believe that we will be putting this funding towards supporting food and essential supplies for our vulnerable populations. I know you and I have had conversations about how we're making sure that our seniors are taken care of. So I'm working the details of that through with Michelle. But of what we are qualified to use this money for, that is what she is recommending at this point in time.
Thank you. And another question that I have, please. The family that was impacted, or maybe a month, 2 months ago, in regard to the sewer problem that they incurred in their home, and it was the township's responsibility. What is the outcome of that, or any update on how that family is doing?
Through you, Council President, I'm going to yield this to Ann Cucci. She's been dealing this directly with our insurance carrier, as she's our Joint Insurance Fund Commissioner. So, Ann?
Yes, thank you. Yes, they're still staying in a hotel that the township is making sure that they're safe in the Sonesta Hotel. What's happening is Rapid Recovery is doing the work. We've made sure that they're funded up front so that this work gets done quickly. They're still scheduled to be back in their home at the beginning of May, so we really haven't skipped a beat. And then I'm working with the insurance company directly to get this paid and taken care of. So we're right on track, to be honest.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, no one else from members of the council have anything to report? Okay, moving on, Township Clerk. Very quickly, I just have one thing. We spoke last time about the Oprah laws being relaxed by the governor, and we were talking about the possibility of the Open Public Meetings Act being relaxed. Well, that did not happen. So as a result, we as a body here need to hold meetings that would be remote and to allow the public to participate. So in doing that, I just wanted to inform the council that we did put a blurb out on the website, and it was in the paper, basically letting the public know that if they wanted to participate in our meeting, they could send any questions or comments to an email, and that would be read into the record and answered by either council members or members of the administration. I just want to be very clear that we are in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act by doing this conference call, and if any other council members want to do things differently, just reach out to me privately, and we can do it any other way that you would like. But for now, this is how we're doing it. Okay, with that being said, moving right along, township offices, committees, and reports. None?
Fine.
Okay. Engineering report. I'll just go ahead and read that very quickly. 2020 road resurfacing, curb, and sidewalk program. The project is being prepared for bidding. The list of streets to be resurfaced has been finalized, and we anticipate bidding the project as soon as possible. No council action required. Green Bank Road Safety and Improvements Project. The Green Bank Road Improvement Project was awarded in February. A pre-construction meeting will be held as soon as possible with the hope that construction will begin in April. No council action required. Various Streets Reconstruction Project. The Various Streets Reconstruction Project was awarded in February. This project includes reconstruction of Cottage Place, Prospect Ave, James Street, and John Street off Park Road. A pre-construction meeting will be held as soon as possible with the hope that construction will begin in April. No council action required. New England Drive Milling and Paving Project. A New England Drive Milling and Paving Project was bid in March and is on the agenda for award. This project is for improvements to the New England Drive from Knoll Road to Lancaster Drive, Vermont Court, and New Hampshire Court. Construction activities are planned to begin in May and will continue through the beginning of September. A resolution will need to be adopted by the Township Council. Simpson Avenue Retaining Wall Project. Simpson Avenue Retaining Wall Project was bid in March and is on the agenda for award. This project is for the replacement of the retaining wall along Simpson Avenue near Durbin Avenue. Construction is planned to begin in May and will continue until August. The resolution will need to be adopted by the Township Council. Roadway Design Projects. The following projects are in design: Mount Tabor Street Improvements, Phase 5, Puddingstone Heights Road Improvements, and the various culvert repair project. These projects will be bid once design documents are finalized and construction will start in the summer. No council action required. Community Rating System, CRS program. We continue to work with our consultant and the NJDEP to getting back into the CRS program. This program provides discounts on flood insurance policies based on the level of activities in which the township participates. This work will continue through at least the end of this year. No council action required. Okay, bids taken. 1, 3/24/20 New England Drive Milling and Resurfacing Program. 2, March 25th, 2020 SCADA System Improvements Phase 2. March 26th, 2020 Replacement of Simpson Avenue Retaining Wall. To be taken. April 15th, 2020 Smithfield Park D Field Improvements. C, quotations, proposals, qualifications. None. At this time, I entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Carriffy, second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. Carriffy? Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Okay, so the floor is open, and as stated before, we have had an email to allow residents to submit their questions and/or comments. So at this point, I will read the name of the individual along with their comment and/or question. So the first one we have is by Ken Dolsky, and this one would probably be for Susan Favante, possibly. He's asking the ordinance number 2020-13, petitioning the Highlands plan for conformance for the planning area. So he just wants to know what this means and what will happen if it is passed.
So, hi everybody. Sorry I can't see you in person tonight. So this ordinance is basically one additional step that's required by the Highlands Council as part of the petition for plan conformance, which, as you all know, the township has been undergoing for the past 6 months or so, at least. And this is basically it's I don't want to say pro forma, but it is based on a model ordinance that the Highlands Council circulates. So that's what we worked with Highlands and Jim Lott and Diane Hickey as well to make sure that it was consistent with what the township would like to see as well. But it basically continues to further the plan conformance petition process along. It makes public, it's a formal action that makes public the township's intention to move forward with plan conformance. It doesn't change any current regulation or master plan or any other plan, but it's considered by Highlands as part of their review of the township's petition, and that will be heard at a future date by the Highlands Council in a public hearing. So typically, this ordinance is actually adopted after the petition has been accepted by the Highlands Council. They thought that it would be a good idea, and we agreed that it was adopted now as a way to kind of expedite the process potentially and show good faith toward the petition process. It's also my understanding that adopting the ordinance now could actually allow the township to get some grant funding that the Highlands seems to be willing to give. So it's just a kind of a good idea to do it now, but it doesn't signal that you are in conformance now. It's just an additional step as part of the process. And I can speak more to this ordinance and the overall Highlands conformance plan process now, or perhaps at that point in the agenda where the ordinance is being heard. I don't know what the preference is.
Here's it now while you.
Yeah, let's just do it now.
Yeah, so just to give a quick update, the plan petition process I've been working on for about 3 or 4 months since late fall. It was based on an agreed upon scope with the Highlands Council. They are funding it. They have funded it. And this process has involved about 3 or 4 deliverables, which I've been submitting to Highlands Council as I've been finishing them. And basically what this scope involved was summarizing the master plan process that the township just went through, summarizing the plan recommendations as they're relevant to the Highlands petition, looking at reviewing the Highlands Council's land use capability zones that they have issued in their regional master plan, and looking at those in relationship to the township zoning and existing additions and anticipated future land use. Identifying developable and redevelopable land in Parsippany, and a lot of that was based on the vacant land adjustment that was done as part of the housing plan. And then finally, identifying and mapping relevant natural and cultural resources. So this was done. This work was all done in basically from December through mid-March. Is when I submitted the last deliverable. So it's in the Highlands Council's hands at this point in a draft form. And the next step is for the Highlands Council to issue a draft consistency review and recommendations report to the township, which we will then review, probably share with all of you as well to get your sense, give them comments back, and then they will refine that report, send it out for a 30-day public comment period, and then set a public hearing of the Highlands Council. Now, I don't know what the schedule for all of that will be given the coronavirus situation. Earlier in the year, we had been talking about potentially May for a public hearing. I'm not sure that will happen, but we are certainly doing everything that we can on our end to make sure that the process continues. And Highlands has been very easy to work with. I think they very much want the township to be a part of Highlands, and so they've been working very closely with us through this whole process. So I'm happy to take additional questions if there are any.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, anyone else? Anyone wants to comment on that? Okay. So the next comment is from Chloe Nelson. And Ms. Nelson's question is this. So she says, other towns have been implementing systems at grocery stores whereby only a certain number of people are allowed into the stores at any given period, and everyone else must wait outside. Parsippany is larger than most other towns, and although this system may be hard to implement, it seems that the problem of too many people in the grocery stores remains a serious issue in our town. Therefore, I'm wondering if some sort of system will be implemented in the next 3 or 4 critical weeks. Will the town be implementing a maximum occupancy system, or will Parsippany implement some sort of quota system like during Hurricane Sandy, where it was families' last names A through M allowed to shop on even days or N through Z on odd days? And that's Chloe's question. Before I turn this over to the council, I do want to say that I know that as of yesterday, I believe, that the ShopRite in Parsippany started implementing such a system, and I do know that other towns, in order to try to avoid this and having everybody stand online, what they're doing is they're having the aisles go in opposite ways, where they would put arrows on the aisles, and you can only walk one way in one aisle and another way in another aisle, and that's the other way. But I'll turn this over to the council, and maybe even Jim, if you'd like to comment on this question.
Council President, it's Keith, if you wouldn't mind me interjecting on this. Mike, you okay if I answer?
Fine, Keith, go ahead.
Okay, so to Ms. Nelson, one, I want to say that we have been very closely monitoring each of the supermarkets which are opened here in the township. I've been in constant contact with Chief Miller and our OEM director, Captain Wieners, on this issue. We're obviously concerned not only about the in-store interaction and how they're respecting social distancing, but also when they're online outside of the store, especially prior to the opening of the store. I can tell you that there was an effort in the city of Garfield, Bergen County, to do what Mr. Madden suggested and have it done by alphabet. And Garfield was directed by the state of New Jersey to cease and assist that rule in the grocery stores. So much of this can only be directed by the state government. So much so that Governor Murphy issued Executive Order 108, which actually indicates to municipalities and school boards and other government agencies at the local level that we are not permitted to put certain rules in effect similar to that in our own municipality, that those rules would need to come from an executive order from the state of New Jersey. But we are monitoring it. We have also had discussions with the ownership of the various supermarkets through the police department to try to make sure that we are putting people in a safe environment when they go food shopping to pick up their essential goods.
Thank you, Keith.
You're welcome.
Yeah, my response would have been the same as Colette's. The stores that I've been to, Food Town and the ShopRite, they've kind of implemented their own safety procedures. And by the way, one of the procedures they implemented was to ignore our ordinance on single-use plastic bags, because they have banned cloth bags because they can be carrying the virus on the cloth bags when someone sneezes on them or they get handled when they're putting food in. So they have banned the cloth bags and have gone back to single-use plastic bags, and that at this point in time, that is probably a very wise decision.
Yes, and Council President, this is Keith again. We put out guidance through our recycling coordinator that we would not be enforcing the plastic bag ordinance. It is still technically law here in Parsippany, but due to the public health emergency and more so due to not having the staff to be able to properly enforce it, we are suspending enforcement of that until we get back to a normal situation.
Thank you.
Well, if I may, that ANJAC put out a notice that a lot of this information about plastic or paper being safer was really something that was driven by the Food Council. And I can be happy to send that out. I think I sent it to Keith, that this idea that the reusable bags are more of an issue is really not correct. But, I understand that the ban under these conditions is not being, enforced. But I don't want to give anybody the impression that you're safer. I don't think anybody should give anybody the impression that they're safer with a plastic bag, because there's no proof of that either. But I'd be happy, or Keith, you can share what ANJAC sent out with regard to the plastic bags. And I think it was just plastic bags and reusable bags.
Okay. So the next question or comment is from a Karen Wentz. And she states, my question: with the amount of people in our town that have gotten the coronavirus, do we really want to continue to build up our town with condominiums, townhouses, and apartments? As it is with the amount of people in town, supplies are limited. This virus is the first of many possible inflictions that can take over our town. Overcrowding will not only cause an influx of more people, but cars, traffic, and pollution from all the cars. How will our town minimize the pollution? How will our town have enough supplies for an additional 2,500 plus people? How will our police department handle more people to police? I would like new construction to be revisited. So would anyone like to address this?
I think Susan should.
Ms. Fervante?
Okay, thank you, Council President.
You're welcome.
I mean, I think the short answer, to repeat a little bit of what was said earlier, is that at this point the planning board is only considering, routine business. So in a sense, a lot of that is on hold. At the same time, a lot of the potential development that is being looked at around town is part of our affordable housing obligations under COA, and those do not go away. So as far as I know, and jump in if you've heard anything, I've heard nothing about any kind of suspension of the affordable housing obligations, which are part of the state constitution. So that would certainly be beyond the township's control to change.
That's correct. There is no suspension of the affordable housing obligation, nor is there any building moratorium.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Susan, and thank you, Jim. Next, we have Nick Homiak, and we have three separate comments here. The first is a statement from authority needed on the CD19 pollution, the tossing of gloves, masks, and wipes. Nick states, the new expanded latex glove, wipes, and mask litter phenomena should be addressed in some displeasure by authority, from the mayor and all government officials, including governors, up to the president. Not to is to pretend it doesn't exist. It can't hurt, it's only words, like one nation under God. The same people that are doing this are surely guilty of littering in general. The litter norm has far too long been given no attention or priority. The present methods of redress, prisoner and volunteers, are not working and in fact enable the phenomena. There must be some scientific method that can be devised, barcode tracing, cameras, receipts, etc. And then he states, in ShopRite parking lot 46, rather than having security inside the store, they need to be in the parking lot, and when they see people tossing gloves, report their license to the police. Today, I saw a police car parked in a lot. The glove, mask, wipe toss is unacceptable. So that's his comment about that. Would anybody like to comment on this? Go ahead.
I can tell you, through you, Council President, again, this is Keith, the mayor has given direct instruction to the police department to have zero tolerance if they witness this being done, or if any type of camera footage, whether it's taken on a cell phone or through a camera that's affixed to a facility, that if that is provided and they can prove out who did it, that they should be charged with the appropriate crime. And the chief has dictated to his men what those people would be charged with. I agree with Mr. Homiak completely. The throwing PPE in a parking lot or along a curb line in a roadway, it is disgusting, it is arrogant, and it is selfish, because some person, whether they are a public works employee or whether they are part of private sanitation at a commercial building like a food store, is going to be responsible for picking that up. And quite frankly, they don't know what they're dealing with when they pick up that PPE. So the police department has been directed to strictly enforce this based on the mayor's decision.
This is Janice, the council president. I just, what about these, whoever owns this property? I mean, I've seen that in front of 7-Eleven. I've seen it in the malls. I mean, are these individuals responsible to make sure that that's being cleaned up? I mean, I don't know if that's a town responsibility in ShopRite's parking lot, or the Morris Hills shopping parking lot, or 7-Eleven's parking lot.
It's the owner
They can't have everybody out there all the time. Individuals are throwing it. The people that throw those gloves down are the ones who are responsible. And I agree with the mayor. We should be arresting them, enforcing the laws to the extreme, because they can pass the the disease along.
I know, but I'm asking, what is the responsibility? They obviously own the property or are responsible for the property. So what responsibility do they have to ensure that their parking lot is not being littered with these gloves and masks?
So under the property maintenance code, accumulation of litter on commercial property is subject to a notice of violation as well as summons. We typically give the owner of the property, I believe, 2 warnings to remove litter on the property.
Yeah, see,
So I guess the next question is do we do
That's
that?
not the law that would apply, because you're not going to wait that long. 2 warnings, I mean, that means the rubber gloves could sit there for a couple of weeks. That law does not apply, really.
Jim, through the council president, I believe that based on the fact that the gloves and the masks are being used to protect from the virus, that the police department may be looking at using another charge if somebody was caught doing this, which is a little more stiff.
Right. So there under 2C, there's a provision for creating public hazard, which is a criminal offense in New Jersey. There are regulatory violations, both with respect to littering as well as property maintenance, as I just detailed.
Yeah, my question is do we ever notify these owners or these properties? Give them help us clean up the area.
Well, I think, Janice, that they're dealing with it too. I don't think that they necessarily want their own employees or private contractors who service cleaning up their parking lots to come in and have to deal with this either. They're balancing their customer base who's doing it, with the folks that they pay to clean up. But I think they're dealing with it and are troubled by it just as we are.
Okay, the next question from Mr. Homiak probably is for Susan. I don't know. He's asking, how is the Highlands conformance moving along?
Yeah, I think I spoke to that earlier, and I think it's at this point the ball is kind of in the council's court, Highlands Council, in terms of the timing of their their report, which I heard from them today. I reached out to them actually, and they are working on it. And then they'll give that back to the township. There'll be a little bit of review on the township's part and comments issued back to the Highlands Council, and at that point they will finalize their consistency report and set a public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
So
Susan.
we do continue along the process.
Thank you. The last comment from Mr. Homiak has to do with the Knoll. He says, meeting of November 2019 with prior Knoll management. See no reason why the new management cannot improve the environmental policies and practices. Knoll Golf seems not to have kept their prior intention to expand the local plastic ban, as 1, styrofoam cups are still in use. 2, a carry-on, carry-off attempt to retrieve recycle cans and bottles, both glass and plastic. The waste containers are Knoll show no improvements in source separation, as most containers are mixed with both waste and recyclables. Any comments on that?
I will revisit this issue with Mr. Brancato when we open up the Knoll. I think the commitment that the Knoll had made to Mr. Homiak and other people in town who were concerned about the type of products being used at the facility was that the caterer would use up their inventory, and then as they reordered supplies, we would go to more environmentally friendly products. But I will revisit that with him. But at this point, it's somewhat mute because the Knoll is closed, but we will discuss it with him.
Thank you, Keith. Okay, at this point, seeing no one else here for public comment, I'd like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Okay, so a motion was by Mr. Carriffy. Who seconded that?
I did, Loretta.
Hey, Ms. Grignani. Okay, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call. Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Okay, floor is closed. At this time, I would ask the council just to review the section under ordinances, both introduction and second reading. Just to review, if there are no questions, we'd like to move on to the non-consent agenda.
Yeah, excuse me. I have a question on the bond ordinance for the water utility. Well, on the conference call, we discussed the water utility and fund balances with Keith and Ann. And I'm just wondering about this note. Are these improvements intended to generate revenue? Will they increase the water utility's revenue?
Well, this $1 million bond you're talking about?
It's the $3 million, yeah, bond.
Okay, that $3 million is to replace well number 20, to provide a generator for wells, booster station upgrade, and a utility service truck is all in that bond.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about at the finance committee meeting about situation with fund balances in the water utility surplus. And I was just wondering, this is a self-liquidating bond, right?
Yes.
So they're going to have to repay the bond?
Yes.
That is correct.
Well, we're down three wells, so we have to start replacing the 3 wells that are not operating right now. This is one of them.
All right. So it's not revenue generating. That was my question.
I will say this, I don't know that there's a direct correlation, but obviously, increasing our capacity, which right now is down because of the 3 wells that are offline, to the council president's point, is certainly a step in a positive direction, with regard to being able to provide adequate water service to the existing residents and future residents of the township. So I can't tell you, council member, that it's a direct correlation, but certainly increasing capacity is something that we're required to do, based on who we need to service now and who we will need to service in the future.
Any other questions on ordinances? Okay, seeing none, we'd like to move to the non-consent agenda. We have one item. It's R 2020-89, authorizing the refund or credit of various fees and deposits paid to the township. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
Okay, need a second?
Second, Peterson.
Okay, any discussion, questions, concerns?
I would just like to point out to the members of the governing body, we would appreciate your support on this tonight. This was put in place due to the COVID-19 public health emergency, and any refunds that we need to provide from any of the various departments, but specifically Knoll and Recreation, this will enable us to be able to make those refunds without bringing individual itemized refunds to the council to be approved at numerous council meetings in the future. So we would appreciate your authorization to do this. It will make it easier on the customer.
Thank you, Keith. At this time, if the council members can just please quickly review the consent agenda.
You gotta take a vote on that.
We got to vote on it.
Oh, we didn't vote, didn't we? Huh? Sorry about that. So we had the comment by Mr. Kazmark, thank you. Voting, Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you, Keith, for that. So at this time, I'd just like to have the council members quickly review the consent agenda. If no questions, and if we can just move on to C, which is the approval of the bills list and payroll. I'll go ahead and read that. Well, no questions for the consent agenda, correct?
Correct.
Okay. CFO Ancucci recommends authorization for payment. Authorized payment of the April 17th, 2020 regular and miscellaneous payroll estimated at $1.6 million each. Payment of bills from voucher list of April 15, 2020 to April 17, 2020, totaling $2,676,689.85. Motion to approve the authorization for payment.
Make a motion.
Second.
Second,
Second, Peterson.
Okay. So motion made by Mr. Carriffy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, so at this time, I would like to take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Carriffy. Do I have to ask for a second on this one?
Second, everybody.
Second, Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. Carriffy,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Council President,
Happy
anything?
Easter, everybody, and stay safe.
Happy Easter, everyone. Have a great night.
Yes.
Folks,
Stay safe.
stay healthy, everyone. Take care.
Take care.
Night.